Moon square Neptune is a really overwhelming placement to have in your chart. And I want to show you how overwhelming it can be through these charts. Stevie Nicks and Winona Ryder both have Neptune square moon. I don't know anything about these two. I just saw that they had Neptune square moon and thought it'd be cool to use them as examples. So with Stevie Nicks, she's a Capricorn moon, and that's already a hard placement. I can tell that she is very ambitious and she wants to really be well liked and respected. She wants to be validated for what she does, what she brings into the world. Capricorn moon is a really hard placement to have because you're put in environments where you feel as if you're uncomfortable or unsafe expressing your emotions. Maybe you feel like you're around people who really don't care about what goes on within you. Or maybe you are put in environments where it's just like, wow, I just have to suck it up. This is just, I have to be strong in this environment. And Capricorn moons are very emotional. They just don't feel safe expressing it. And when you have a moon squared Neptune, you're very sensitive. Now with moon square Neptune, you can be sensitive in two ways. Emotionally and energetically, right? Emotionally, you have emotions that come in waves. Oh my God, it's like I said, this placement is so overwhelming. When those emotions come, it's like, ugh. But you're also very sensitive energetically. You know, when you walk into a room, you're able to pick up on how a person is feeling, why they're feeling that way, what's the behavior behind why they act that way. You're able to pick up on things that are that wasn't said. And on top of that, you're like a sponge. You walk into a room and you're soaking up all of that energetic residue that was there before you even walked into the room. So yeah, you guys are really sensitive. So I know that for Stevie Nicks, this was very hard for her because she's a sensitive girl. She's a sensitive girl. And because her moon is in her 10th house, I know that and I know that she's in a band, or she was in a band. So I'm sure, you know, she was probably taking on the emotions of the people she worked with. And I know that she was carrying a lot of burdens for the band. she was probably putting in the most work. I don't know nothing. I just know that she was in the band. I don't know nothing about the band. But looking at this chart, she probably carried the band. And when they went through something, you know, like she really cares about how she's perceived. So let's say there was people are noticing things going on with the band. Those ups and downs that the band went through must have been really hard for her. But I have a feeling like she had to stay strong. Neptune square moon is known for having escapist tendencies, and honestly, with how intense everything is for you guys, I mean, I understand. She has moon opposite Venus, and this placement tells me that maybe at one point her way of emotionally regulating was to write down her feelings. But Venus is squared her ascendant, and this placement has a tendency to overindulge, right? So maybe it's in food, maybe it's in sex, maybe it's through spending money. Which, like, I don't know if I said this or not, but I can tell by her moon placement that when she goes through something emotionally, I feel like she's someone who she's like, okay, I have this feeling and I want to get rid of it immediately, right? Sometimes you'll find that Capricorn moons, they take those emotions and they just shove it somewhere. Is they they don't always prioritize those emotions because they always have something else. You know, like I said, it depends on their environment too. Sometimes they're put in environments where it's just emotions are not top priority. But I feel like she did once have a way to emotionally regulate. But when she goes through something emotionally, she's like, okay, I'm feeling something. I need to get rid of this emotion ASAP, quickly. Now, with Moon squared Neptune, like I said, they tend to have escapist tendencies, whether that's through drugs, whether that's through alcohol, whether that's through sex, whether that's through shopping, whether that's through work, art, whatever, your phone. Yeah, I feel like escaping her emotions carried her through hard times. Yeah. So if we look at Winona Ryder's chart, right? she has a Pisces moon. Sensitive already. I can tell that her inner world is amazing. But I also see moon square Jupiter along with her moon square Neptune. I can tell that she has very big emotions. She's also a very sensitive girl, but a very sensitive girl with really big emotions. And I can also tell that maybe at one point in her life, even though, she's a very emotional woman, she really tried to make sure that she kept that to herself. She didn't let all of that slip out. She really tried to keep her emotions in control, and she really made sure to contain them. Because what I'm getting here is she has a lot going on within her. And I feel like with this chart, like with Stevie's chart, I feel like a lot of this really affected, yes, her relationships, but mainly career. Like, career really stuck out to me. But with Renona, I feel like this is how she relates to others. And I feel like, she probably dated a lot of people who just don't meet her emotionally and mentally. And I'm sure that in a lot of these relationships, she felt very misunderstood and lonely. Even when, she wasn't necessarily alone, she still felt lonely. And I don't know if she, in times when she was feeling these big emotions, she probably felt the need to isolate. And that's another thing that moon squared Neptune people do. They isolate when things get real overwhelming for them. Like I said, it's easy for them to read other people. It's not easy for them to understand themselves. Like I said, they can have these very intense and strong emotions, and they'll be like, why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? My cat is next to me and he's licking himself. But they could, they're sitting there and they could be saying, why am I feeling this way? Where did this come from? We'll never know. But because they have a hard time understanding themselves, I think they isolate, because it's like, if I don't understand myself, who gonna understand me if I don't understand myself? So this is all very much like just isolating, lonely. I'm sure she feels very misunderstood a lot, but I can tell by her moon that she really craves deep connection. Deep connection. But I don't know. I feel like she has met a lot of people who just don't understand her emotionally and mentally. Yeah, but I feel like life has pushed her to kind of like surrender to the fact that you are sensitive and you have big emotions. Like there's no point in keeping that all contained. I feel like, I'm not sure, I don't know this lady, but from reading this chart, I feel like she has went through experiences in her life where she just had to learn to just surrender to who you are. Surrender to the fact that not a lot of people are going to understand you. Just a lot of surrender. I feel like that's a really big lesson for her. Now, if you have Neptune square moon, you might be saying like, okay, I have this placement. What do I do now, right? And I feel like Winona is a great example for what you should do. I'm not really sure if she did this, but I can see her chart pushing her to do this. But surrender to who you are. Surrender to the fact that you are emotional. Surrender to the fact that you are sensitive emotionally and energetically. There's nothing you can do about this. This is your fate. This is who you are. Don't be ashamed of it. Another piece of advice I would give is get into energetic cleansing, because like I said, you are a energetic sponge. You're picking up all types of energetic residue, and you don't want to be carrying other people's energetic residue. You know, you guys are the type of people where your friend can come to you, you could be like, oh my god, what's wrong? And they'll be like, man, I just broke up with my boyfriend. And you'll leave after that conversation feeling like, damn, we just broke up with our boyfriend. Like, you take on people's emotions, and you know, that's just something that happens naturally. I don't think you guys are doing that on purpose. It's just something that you take on, but those aren't your emotions. Sometimes people don't even have to tell you things. You can walk into a room and you can just be like, damn, I feel like everybody mad in here. And then you leave the room and now you feel mad too, right? Those are not your emotions. So you don't want to, you know, you walking around in the world and you come back home and you got everybody's residue on you, and you lay your head in your bed and everybody's residue is in your bed, right? You need to treat your energetic body just like you would your real body. Start looking up ways to cleanse yourself at the end of the day. I also recommend that you guys start listening to frequencies. It's just like how music, you guys are really sensitive to the music that you listen to. You're very sensitive to sound. Why not listen to things that have more intention? Does that make sense? If you find yourself having escapist tendencies, you need to do something about that. Because like I said, I keep on saying this, but this is an overwhelming placement. And I know what it's like to have escapist tendencies. You know, you feel like the emotions that you're dealing with are too overwhelming. and you don't want to deal with them right now. When emotions seem, that big, they can seem scary to deal with. But I was just telling my friend about this the other day. When Imagine like you're going up a hill, right? That's life. We're all going up this hill, right? And you go through something, you find a rock. The rock is your emotion. And you go, I'm not dealing with this rock. I'm going to turn around and go back down this hill because I don't feel like dealing with this rock right now. The rock follows you, and as you're going down the hill, the rock becomes bigger and faster, and it ends up crushing you. You can't outrun the rock going down the hill. Learn how to deal with your emotions head on. Learn better ways to emotionally regulate. And also, a lot of the times we get too caught up in trying to figure out why we feel this way and where did this emotion come from. Sometimes you'll never figure that out. And sometimes that stuff doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're feeling what you're feeling in the moment. Let the emotion come and go. That's what it's supposed to do. So, if you can do this, dealing with this part of yourself will become so much more easier. If you're interested in a reading, please check out my website at divinationwithtony.com. I do astrology readings, I do tarot readings, and I also have something called reflection sessions because people ask me to help them with their journaling and their shadow work. So if you are interested, please book a reading with me.